And we welcome into the show Jordan Harper of the Tide Illustrated head basketball analyst and also the host of the Double Dribble podcast, a basketball podcast centered on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Jordan, how you doing today?
Doing good, David. How y'all doing?
Oh, doing fantastic. Obviously, one of the biggest topics this week that's been coming out nationally is around JQ. And I think Maddie has our first question today that we wanted to ask about the news that he's transferring.
Okay.
Yeah, so the question I'm sure is on absolutely everybody's mind. Why in the world did we see him decide to transfer, especially this late in the game? You know, pretty much everything suggested that he was going to be one of the leaders, one of the starters for this Alabama team. So, I mean, if you have any insight, please give us your wisdom here.
Well, yeah, it's been a saga this off season. If you've had your ears to the ground, that you knew that JQ, once he entered the draft process, you knew that there was a possibility that either A, he could stay in the draft, end up going overseas, or moving on from basketball. You never knew. But there was always that chance that he'd come back, and everybody kind of had that feeling all along that he was going to come back, use his 17th year, whatever it is by now, of eligibility, and be a leader on this team, where he's really stepped up big time in March, and he's been kind of that. I tweeted yesterday that he's that security blanket for Alabama, even coming off the bench. You knew what you were getting from him. You're getting a high volume shooter, scorer. He does make turnovers at time, but he's that constant ball handling guard that they really needed when Jaden Bradley struggled. But he was going to be that he was going to come off the bench this upcoming season, but he was going to be that stable second ball handler, six man, and he was going to have a stable role. He was going to average, last year he averaged 21 minutes a game, and that's coming off a torn ACL. The previous year he was 30 minutes a game, so he was probably going to get the same. So I don't think it was role. I don't think it was, playing time. All of that canceled out. I'm sure y'all can kind of figure what's next, on what kind of lured him away. And I'm not going to mention that, specifically, but I think everybody can catch my drift there. But yeah, I think that he was just lured away. That's the best way I can say it.
I can definitely pick up your vibe there, given some previous stuff that went down at other schools. So yeah, this we'll all skate around that. So what is the plan for Alabama going forward from this? What do you think Nate Oates' plan is to supplement the situation? And is the answer already on the roster, or do you think it's someone that he's going to try to pull in from the transfer portal?
Well, it's already this late in the process in the transfer portal. Pretty much, if he would have told Alabama's staff this, a month, 2 months ago, they were really after guys that like Keon Minifield that ended up going to Arkansas. They were really after him. But there was always that doubt in those players' minds, like, well, you got Mark Sears, you have Jahvon Quinerly probably coming back. They don't want to be the third point guard. So they kind of steered away from Alabama. So now this late in the process, there's no really good guards out there. With West Virginia's situation, Toussaint, their backup guard, is in the portal, taking visits to Texas Tech and Kansas State this week. They recently reached out today. I mean, they're scrambling at this point to try to find that.
Oh, yeah, I actually wanted to ask a little bit further about Toussaint out of West Virginia. We just saw Kentucky today reap the benefits of the situation in West Virginia. I know that's a poor way to put that, but, Toussaint, Alabama's shown interest. What do you think the odds of him coming to Tuscaloosa are?
Well, I think there's a chance in the fact that they could probably sell him on getting JQ's minutes. And he's a senior. He's well seasoned. He's a guy that really doesn't turn the ball over much, plays solid defense even at his size. I mean, looking at his stature, his stats from last season, now he doesn't shoot the three ball as well as JQ did, and he turns the ball over less, but it could be like a JQ clone in some ways. It's just that smaller guard that's a great ball handler, great decision maker, playmaker. The only thing is he doesn't make shots, and that's kind of where Jaden Bradley's fallout was with Alabama. He kind of got pushed out because he couldn't shoot, and that's kind of where Tucson is. But I really don't know, man. They have Mark Sears. That's the plan, that he's going to be the primary ball handler at point guard, and then after that, it's by committee with Aaron Estrada, Latrell Wrightsell Jr. I expect Rylan Griffin to have a breakout year and probably be showcasing his playmaking ability, so he might get thrown into that some. So right now it's Mark Sears and then committee. So unless somebody else comes into the portal, I think that's where it's going to stay.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
that's definitely the plus for Alabama's bench, in my opinion, as a lot of them stuck around. I think you're going to have a lot that were fighting for minutes last year that are going to get to kind of show what they're made of.
Yeah, that definitely. And reports I've been getting, Aaron Estrada looks the part. I could see him being an all-SEC caliber player. I mean, it's hard to win Conference Player of the Year twice in a row, no matter what conference you play in. But he's going to fit the part. Wrightsell will be a good guy off the bench. And an injury to her way of trusting, one or two of these freshmen that are coming in. So, everybody was raving about Alabama's backcourt, rightfully so. It's very talented. But a huge hit to the depth, losing JQ this late. Like I said, he's the security blanket of that depth of the backcourt. So now you got to either find somebody, whether it be Tucson or somebody else that's there or will enter. I mean, you're probably going to have somebody enter in August. I mean, the way transfer portal's working right now, so you never know. But there's 2 spots open to fill, and everybody thought it would be a center that they would try to add, and now all of a sudden they're scrambling for a point guard.
Yeah, speaking of this transfer portal issue, it's kind of becoming big eye and around national attention, just based on the fact that we've seen so many late transfers putting teams in rough situations. And it's made some people have made their opinions very vocal about how they feel about the grad transfer rule when it comes to the portal. Do you think nationally we'll see anything like a rule change because of just the push for these late transfers come about in the NCAA?
Yeah, you're going to start getting a lot of coaches that are going to be irate, start getting irate, more vocal about it. You heard Trent Dilfer's interview, I'm sure, on radio recently saying, I'm going to call out any college coach that comes into my players' DMs and trying to steal them away from my team. Coaches are going to get fed up like that. And I feel like the more and more people start blowing it up that it needs to have a change, I think you're going to get one. But they've opened such a big can of worms on not having many guidelines at all, especially with the COVID year. And then now you can transfer one time for, basically free. And then we got to put these guidelines in. Well, these situations, I mean, it goes on and on. So until they put strict guidelines down and restrictions, you're just going to get players and coaches abusing the system, especially with tampering. Tampering's at an all-time high right now. So you're going to get that from both sides until the NCAA just lays down the law, which they haven't done, at all in years, seems like.
Yeah, it's definitely the weakest NCAA appearing or show of power of late these last couple of years coming out of COVID. But I do want to turn to some more positive Alabama news. I wanted to ask about Jaron Stevenson, a kid with a background from North Carolina, had some Tar Heel interest. Ultimately, he chooses Alabama. Why do you think Nate Oates was successful in pulling him out of the Tar Heel state?
That was a huge get, not only because of his ranking, his talent, his potential, just because he's a North Carolina legacy. His mom played for North Carolina, won championships there. They live, I believe, 10 to 15 minutes from campus. And they've been recruited by North Carolina this whole time. Like, if he wanted to go to North Carolina, he would have committed, a year or two ago. But the fact that he stayed true and uncommitted and really played the field shows to me that I don't think that him or his family really trust Hubert Davis. I don't think they trust his vision. I don't think they trust what he's doing. And you already know after the kind of fluky, I think, run he had a couple years ago, that he's already on the hot seat. I mean, he has all that talent and he's not doing anything with it now. So I think they were kind of hesitant about that. Nate Oates is already kind of established, and I mean, they really sold him on the Noah Clowney role. I mean, he is a Noah Clowney clone, not as well polished. Obviously, he's only 17. He'll be eligible for the draft next year because I believe he turns 19 next October. But he's a guy that can not only protect the rim with his wingspan, he's going to have to get bigger, but his ability to step out and shoot, his ability to make plays in the open court, he can handle the ball really well, make plays. He's a great passer. He just fits that Noah Clowney role, and I feel like that's really what they sold him on. If he stayed in 2024 class, I think he would have went to North Carolina or Virginia ultimately. But you see Alabama's depth chart in the front court. They needed him bad this year. And I think that's really what they sold him on.
Oh, 100%. Definitely when you had 3 roster spots opening there on decision day, it was definitely interesting. So, Gigi Jackson was an early commit to college as well there in South Carolina, and out Jaren Stevenson is too. Do you think this is a trend we'll continue to see from players jumping up early in a class?
I think you will with situation. I think you'll see it in players like Jaren or Gigi that birthdays fall luckily before the end of the calendar year for the draft to where they can go one and done. A lot of players, a lot of their parents really want them to go that path. I don't think it's smart personally, unless you're a guy like you saw Gigi. If he would have stayed in his class, really developed again, worked on his body, and then went into college, I feel like he would have probably been a higher draft pick. He fell a good ways, but you're just not mature enough going into college at that age. You know what I mean? Physically, emotionally, mentally. We've seen Kyra Lewis do it. We've seen Joshua Primo do it, and they played really well in college. But that's 1 in 100, 2 in 100. Most times you see reclassifications, it just doesn't work out.
100%. I mean, I don't think any of us were the same person they were at 17 going to 18, 19 as well.
It's a big jump. Yeah.
It's a huge jump. Yeah, you're exactly right on the maturity issue. I mean, we had Gigi Jackson come out a few days ago apologizing for some comments he made after the Arkansas game at South Carolina. There are maturity issues in both physical and mental. I'm not saying Jaren Stevenson's going to be that way, but you're exactly right. I think you're hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah, and I don't think Jaren will make – people's going to have to temper their expectations for Jaren. A lot of people just look at him as, oh, he's going to step right in and be 11-9 with, a block and a half a game like Noah was. No, he's not. Noah was more polished and more physically ready to play in the NBA or in the college basketball when he stepped on the campus because he's a year older. And I feel like Jaren, while he may end up starting, I don't know that 4 spots really wide open if they want to go that route and put Grant Nelson at the 5. But that's a huge spot to fill, and he might be thrusted into that role just because the other 2 guys behind him are going to be freshmen. If they decide to put Nelson at the 5, they could easily roll with Nelson at the 4, Pringle at the 5, and let Jaren come off the bench playing 18 to 20 minutes a game and kind of ease him on in. But it's going to be a big learning curve right off the bat for him. And it starts in mid-July when he's expected to enroll.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. So I know you talked about how huge of a get Jaren Stevenson is for this Tide team. And then you talked about, some of the downside of him being younger going into this class. What do you think these Alabama fans can expect from Stevenson the coming season?
Well, I feel like he'll probably play 20 to 25 minutes a game. Maybe not starting right out the gate unless he just flat out impresses coming into summer, going into fall. But I feel like you can easily see a 8.5 rebound line. It might even get up close to 10 depending on how his outside shot works or how it develops. Because Noah Clowney, that's where he got a lot of his shots early on, was from the 3, because quite frankly, players and teams didn't respect him. And Jaron has that opportunity to do that, set the tone, how teams are going to play him. If they just think he's going to be a inside scorer, they're going to lay off, and it's going to make it really tough for him to make it really tough for him to score. But I feel like he's going to have to be a somewhat of a rim protector on this team because this team doesn't have much height in the front court, especially experience-wise. So you might see him more, hovering around the basket defensively and playing more outside offensively to really spread the court. So you might see him shoot more threes and get inside shots. So you might not see him score as much. But I can realistically see 8 points, 5 rebounds, at least until conference play, and then that's really where it's going to step up.
I mean, it makes sense to me. It'll definitely be an interesting ride to watch where Jaren Stevenson ends up when conference play turns over. I've got one more question for you. We normally ask a fun question at the end of interviews. I was going through your Twitter today, and I saw you're a big Jacksonville Jaguars fan. So
Yeah.
I'm asking for a bold prediction right now from you on where you think your Jags are going to end up this season.
I feel like a bigger bold prediction. I think Trevor Lawrence finishes top 3 MVP. That's my big bold prediction. Okay. I feel like he's going to have a huge breakout year with Calvin Ridley on the team now. But I feel like Jags are going to win the AFC South for sure. But I feel like this year they're going to get the Chiefs in the divisional round. I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to finish with a top, still probably be the 3rd seed behind the Bills and the Chiefs. But I think whether they play the Bills or the Chiefs in the divisional round, I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to go back to the AFC Championship game.
I mean, that's definitely an entertaining pick. We were sitting here talking about players maturing and everything else, and you got Jacksonville right now maturing and everything.
Trevor Lawrence's jump, while it statistically wasn't, incredible, like a, Justin Herbert 4,500 yard season, just the improvement from the turnovers is what's so impressive. When the game's supposed to speed up for you in year 2, it slowed down, it slowed down for him. And then only adding, Calvin Ridley and then Tank Bigsby, I'm really high on adding another weapon. I think it's going to be a really good year for him, an improved defense. I think Chiefs are going to start losing a step offensively as all these guys go elsewhere. And I think the Jags are going to catch them. I think they're going to do it.
Well, I wish your Jags the best of luck this season.
Appreciate it.
Yep, I'm definitely envious as a Cowboys fan because I wanted Doug Peterson for myself.
What'd you think of that boys game? What'd you think of the Jags?
Let's not get into
it. I was dead in the water when they went up big, and I'm like, gosh, do I want to keep watching this? But I did, and my goodness, what a collapse! I don't even call our comeback incredible. That was just a collapse by your boys.
It was painful. It's been painful since 2014 in my mind, and probably a little bit since before then. It's been a long life. I was born, the last time I was alive the last time we won a Super Bowl, but dadgummit, I wish they would hurry up and win another one.
Well, I mean, at least you got that for you. I've got 2 AFC championship games, 3, and I think one of them we lost to the Titans for the 3rd time. There only are 3 losses all year, and it was through the Titans all 3 times the year they lost to the Rams in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, at least you got that going for you.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. All right, Jordan, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. Definitely an insightful conversation. If you want to let everybody know where they can find you at, please do so.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at HarperNation24. You can catch all my updates on, I tweet a lot about Alabama basketball because that's what I do for Tide Illustrated, which is the Alabama's site on the Rivals Network. And you can also follow my podcast, the Double Dribble Podcast, covering solely Alabama basketball. Has been since 2019 and still going strong. So give me a listen, give me a follow, and I'd appreciate it.